everybody, and welcome to the weekly scopes from the 1st to the 7th of December. Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's weekly scopes. If you've heard this before, you can skip, but this is just the intro on how I, formulate these astrology weekly readings. I use astrology and my intuition to give you advice how you can practically use the knowledge of the stars and the planets and apply them to your life. So my weekly scopes are all based on GMT time and on Vedic constellational astrology. So now I'm just going to explain what Vedic constellation astrology is and how it differs from Western astrology. So the precession of the equinox is sort of like something that happens in astronomy and astrology, where the Earth's axis undergoes a slow circular motion over 26,000 years, and basically this means that this motion causes a shift in the position of the equinoxes and also the calculation Vedic and Western astrologies use. So around 2,000 years ago, the tropical and sidereal Vedic astrology signs of astrology were aligned in the same position. So if the sun was in Scorpio in Vedic astrology, it was also in the constellation of Scorpio in Western astrology. But because of the precession of the equinoxes, this has caused a gradual westward sort of like drift of the tropical Western signs. So basically these signs and the Western signs shift 1 degree with every 72 years. So as a result of this ongoing shift, when Western astrology says the sun is in the constellation of Pisces, it's typically in the constellation of Aquarius. Still, this is because the degree, orb and the date for Western and Vedic astrology are 24 degrees, 24 days apart. So in Western astrology, the sun enters the constellation of Pisces around the 19th of February each year, but actually the sun doesn't arrive into the constellation of Pisces until the 13th to the 15th of March each year, and Vedic astrology takes this into account because it's based on the fixed star positions, and Vedic astrologers use sidereal calculations. So as a result, Vedic astrology takes into account the actual positions of the constellations in the sky at any given time, and also considers the precession of the equinox, adjusting for the shift in the position of the equinoxes over time. But in terms of Western astrology follows the tropical zodiac, which is based on the seasons rather than fixed star positions. Western astrologers also do not directly account for the precession of the equinox in their calculations as well, so this results in slightly different calculations and interpretations that are given whether we're using Western astrology or Vedic astrology. So yeah, as I said, Western astrology uses specific dates, so every year, regardless of where the sun actually is at the sky, the sun moves into Pisces around the 19th of February. So yeah, this discrepancy, this misalignment between the tropical zodiac and the actual positions of the constellations has led to a discrepancy between Vedic astrology and Western astrology. So I consider the actual where the sun and the moon are and where Mars and Venus are at any given time, and this is how I formulate these sort of like weekly scopes. So yeah, thanks for listening to this, and let's dive into this week's weekly scope. Okay, so now I'm just going to explain what parallels and contra-parallels are in astrology, because I use them in my chart interpretation. So declination in astrology is the measure of how far a celestial body is, such as the sun, whether it's either north or south of the celestial equator. And the celestial equator is an imaginary line in the sky above the Earth's equator, which us astrologers use in our interpretation. So parallels happen when two planets are on the same declination. Either both planets are on the north side side, or either both planets are on the south side, and this alignment increases the influence of the involved planets. So it's similar to a conjunction aspect, as it amplifies their energy, making the effects of the planets more pronounced. Contra-parallels, on the other hand, happen when two planets are on the same declination, but one is in the north and one is in the south. So this alignment creates tension, which is similar to an opposition aspect, and it can lead to conflict, challenges and inner struggles between the energies of the planets involved. So contra-parallels highlight areas of friction or contrast in our lives, urging us to find balance between their opposing forces at play. When transiting parallels and contra-parallels happen, they can sort of like trigger significant events, shifting consciousness and periods of intense growth and transformation. So I look at these aspects closely during chart analysis to understand how planetary energies interact and influence each other during a specific time frame, to pinpoint key periods for personal development, relationship dynamics or career shifts, and other shifts like karmic shifts and stuff like that. Because I just find using contra-parallels and parallels gives me more depth in interpretation, so I use them. So contra-parallels and parallels in astrology serve as markers for potential challenges or breakthroughs, guiding us towards more self-awareness, love, acceptance, understanding, forgiveness for ourselves and others, and shifts in consciousness and growth. So overall, just a shift in our mindset if we allow for it. So parallels and contra-parallels just kind of like provide valuable insights into the complexities and nuances of the astrological interactions between planetary movements. So yeah, that's the end of what contra-parallels and parallels are. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about this week's main aspects. So we've got Mercury making a parallel to Pluto. This entered on the 23rd of November, is exact at 7:38 a.m. on the 1st of December, and leaves us around the 5th of December, but we still feel it up until about maybe the 8th, 9th. So the second aspect of this week that is influencing us is the Sun's contra-parallel to Jupiter. Now this entered on the 22nd of November and is exact on the 2nd of December at 9:23 p.m. and then is exact again on the 11th of January at 3:01 p.m. and then leaves us on the 22nd of January 2025 at 1:59 a.m. So it's going to affect us for about 6 weeks, so we can really use this energy to find that balance between our ego expression and our, higher thinking versus shallow thinking. And then we've got the Sun making a parallel to Mercury on the 3rd of December, and this entered on the 30th of November, is exact on the 3rd of December at 6:28 p.m. and leaves us on the 7th of December at 4:10 a.m. And then we've got Mercury making a contra-parallel to Jupiter on the 4th of December at 1:28 a.m. and leaves us on the 8th of December. And then we've got Venus making a parallel to Pluto that's influencing us this week, and this is also exact at 2:37 a.m. on the 4th of December, leaving us on the 11th of December, so taking us over to next week. And then we've got Mercury's parallel to Pluto that entered on the 23rd of November at 7:38 a.m. is exact on the 1st of December and leaves us around the 7th of December. So we've got a lot going on this week. So the first one, Mercury's parallel to Pluto, allows us to dig deep into our thoughts and our communications with others. It encourages us to have more intense, meaningful conversations and also explore our hidden truths, our secrets, the things we repress, our real deep psychological underpinnings, which can be hard to do, but this supports us in doing so, especially when it comes towards sort of like third house stuff, so communications with siblings, parents, neighbours, on our commutes to work and stuff like that, in social situations as well. It can sort of like really pushes us sometimes to confront what lurks beneath the surface, beyond the superficial conversations that we have. It wants us to investigate, have conversations that transform our relationships, or think about how we can transform our thought patterns as well. And also just can offer us deep insights about ourselves and our surroundings, but negatively it can lead to obsessive thinking, manipulation in our relationships, because Pluto energy can manifest as power struggles, overwhelming emotions. We can all be snappy, feelings like bitterness, resentment, jealousy, and all of that can come up, and overstepping people's boundaries and people trying to control others or you controlling others. So we just need to watch out for that this week. The Sun's contra-parallel to Jupiter expands all of these power struggles, because Jupiter expands everything, but it can also just make us more optimistic as well. We can have an increased sense of self, which we need to be, watch out for it not going into, egotistical territory, because we've got the Sun and Jupiter meeting here. But it just allows us to be generous in our actions. So it's a great energy to network with others, start new ventures, reduce conflict, as we can feel more confident in expressing our ideas or taking on leadership roles. But we just need to watch out for overstepping boundaries, overcommitting, as this can lead to excess in all areas, overspending, making promises that we can't keep, all of that. But it can help us, improve our relationships, which is needed this week, and just contribute positively to our family, to our relationships, to our community, to ourselves, and stay grounded in our intentions, and just grounded in, respecting other people's boundaries and asserting our own boundaries in a peaceful way. It just kind of allows us to really work on our socialization, personal growth, and we may seek to expand our horizons with travel, education, and we just need to watch out for overdoing it, because if we do that, this can lead to disappointment if we don't manage our expectations right now. So just watch out for as I said, overdoing it, especially in our financial areas, and socialising with others, as I said, making promises that you can't keep this week. And it's so important to balance our impulses with practical considerations to avoid, the dangers that come with being overconfident. And we just have to watch out for doing silly things like investing our money or maybe our time or other resources without weighing up the risk carefully, because it can lead to waste. So yeah, all in all, this is a good energy to use to think optimistic as we go through the problems this week, to celebrate our achievements, but we also need to reflect on the areas where we need to be a bit more grounded in our ambitions, goals, relationships and promises and all the rest of it. The Sun also makes a parallel to Mercury, so this is another one that puts the spotlight on our communication, especially our communication skills. It allows us to have more mental clarity, be more clear in our adjustments, and be discerning. So again, it supports us in expressing ourselves creatively, having discussions with others, sharing ideas, articulating our thoughts confidently, and we can persuade others effectively. So good for sales, marketing and stuff like that, and we're going into that season to be jolly and goodwill to human beings, and that, so this can help reduce conflicts as well, and just general being nice to people, passing strangers. You never know who you could be helping with a smile or something like that. Also a good energy for writing projects, public speaking, important meetings, as it allows us to have sort of like deeper insights. We can value other people's insights as well, but again, because our communication skills can be increased, we have to just be careful with being overly opinionated, dominating conversations, and just watch out for people doing that. Speak your mind, but also allow others to do that. Don't allow others to walk all over you, and just watch out for for misunderstandings this week, and it also adds to the conflicts as well. It can also create like a desire for intellectual stimulation within us, but it also inspires us to seek out new learning opportunities or engage in lively debates with others. And we just need to sort of like manage the flow of ideas, because this energy can kind of feel like a whirlwind of thoughts that can lead to scattered focus if we don't channel our sort of like focus effectively. To maximise the benefits of the Mercury energies this week, set specific goals, especially for our intellectual activities such as enrolling in a class or dedicating time to studying, researching a new topic or improving your skills. Balance eagerness to communicate with active listening and creating safe spaces, and this can help us, really deepen our understanding of other people's perspectives and ways of operating in the world. Also, Mercury makes a contra-parallel to Jupiter. So again, this aspect allows us to, research new philosophies, ideas, to learn, to travel, to educate, even mental travel. We can be more sort of like enthusiastic about taking risks, and this can be good for, opportunities in both our personal, professional areas of life as well. Again, just watch out for overcommitting, taking on more than you can handle, as this can lead to stress or disappointment if expectations aren't met. Practically, balance is key, and you should also embrace new opportunities and ensure your plans are feasible. And just watch out for, again, being overconfident, exaggerating your capabilities right now. Stay grounded, but again, it allows us to set realistic goals without, being impractical or scattered in our focus. So this is really good if we apply ourselves. Venus makes a parallel to Pluto, so this invites and supports us to explore deep emotional connections, and transformative relationships with others can make us more passionate, more intense, encourages us to, confront both our desires and fears. We can find ourselves drawn to intense romantic experiences, or have a strong urge to redefine our relationships. And we should allow, even though it can be scary, ourselves to be vulnerable and strive for honesty right now. And it just supports us to have those deep conversations that can bring clarity and strengthen our relationships with ourselves or others, but negatively adds to the control issues, jealousy and obsessive resentment, bitterness issues of the week as well. So we just need to watch out for possessiveness, especially with our partners or our close friends or anybody. And if we do feel overwhelmed by our emotions this week, it's important to take a step back and reflect on what is driving these feelings, and balancing passion with a healthy sense of our own personal boundaries, and again respecting others. So the key phrase this week is avoid conflict and protect your boundaries, and don't overstep other people's boundaries, I think, and just watch out for those manipulation, control issues. But use this week's main energies to focus on your communication skills, building yourself up, reducing conflicts, sorting things out. So now I'm just going to talk a bit more about the spiritual and esoteric meanings of this week's transits. So as I said, Mercury's parallel to Pluto allows us to express ourselves, and we can experience profound mental shifts where we merge the intellect and our intuitive thinking, and this can lead to transformative revelations. And this allows the intensity of Pluto to increase our curiosity and drive for knowledge, and pushing beyond the depths of our own psyche and our comfort zones, because sometimes we fear our emotions, don't we? Especially the scary ones like jealousy and revenge and obsessions and stuff, and we numb ourselves to them and our oppressions and our desires, our truths. So this energy really allows us to go deep this week. The Sun's contra-parallel to Jupiter allows us to really be optimistic about ourselves. and the sense of possibility for our lives. It allows us to be more generous, embrace joy, and increases our natural radiance. So it's great, as I said earlier, to really plan for the coming year. Never think it's too late. That's a good song by Free Graces Down. It's a bit, I know, rocky, but I like it because the message is sometimes we think it's too late in life. Doesn't matter if you're 14 or 42 or 92. If you want to do it, go for it, you know. So it allows us to sign and just be more in balance and be more optimistic. So yeah, on the spiritual esoteric level, the sun's parallel to Mercury allows us to really tap into those creative ideas and insights and share our vision. And we can even write that piece, or I don't know, design that art, or do whatever it is that we've been thinking about doing, you know, to do it. It supports us in, you know, expressing our true selves, and our words and our thoughts can carry a lot of power right now, so, you know, choose them carefully. So as I said, the contra-parallel between Mercury and Jupiter allows us to be more exuberant, you know, just have a zest and love of life, just optimistic, especially about our ability to expand and to embrace different people's opinions and discuss lively debates, and, you know, just really enjoy talking, searching out new subjects, broadening our horizons both mentally and spiritually. And, you know, we're reminded this week that the universe supports our quest for knowledge, and, you know, so it's best to take bold steps forward and progress and let your curiosity lead the way. As Venus makes a parallel to Pluto, we're given the chance to step into our personal power and to make deep emotional connections with others. It encourages us to explore the depths of our relationships, pushing us to confront desires and fears that may have been, you know, lurking beneath the surface. And we can just find ourselves drawn to experiences that challenge our understanding of love and intimacy this week. And, you know, this energy is guiding us to have a deeper understanding of our own emotions, of the people's emotions, our relationships, so we can embrace this potent energy this week to change our perspectives and to create healing and rejuvenation in our connections. And, you know, just allow ourselves to feel intensely attracted to others. You know, some of us may not have a choice. This energy kind of forces this magnetic sort of force on us. So, you know, we are in the season of when some people break up, but some people can fall in love as well. So it wants us to just really delve into the themes of intimacy, power dynamics and vulnerability this week, and it pushes us to embrace the beauty and complexity of our relationships, and, you know, really uncover those hidden truths about ourselves, about our partners, whatever, that can enrich our relationships, our peace of mind, our positive thinking, and really just increase our emotional happiness right now. So content creators can use this energy to dig into topics that talk about how we can deal with intense communication and thoughts, how we can transform negative thoughts as well. You know, really creating content that encourages your audience to explore their inner thoughts, uncover hidden truths, and engage in meaningful discussions about psychology, mysteries, life after death, power dynamics, sexual repressions. It wants us and supports us also to understand life, death and rebirth, so talking about how we can become more comfortable with the ups and downs of life, steps and rebirth, and, you know, talk about how we can embrace change more, how we can dig beneath the surface and become more sort of like comfortable with, you know, embracing the unknown with more honesty and depth. Also talk about how we can be more honest in our communication as well. With the energy of Sun contra-parallel to Jupiter, you can talk about how we can set ambitious goals for the coming new year, how we can dream bigger but also more grounded, and take risks in pursuit of our passions, and just explore your listeners, you know, to sort of like broaden their horizons, tap into their potential for success, and it just emphasizes the importance of staying positive, having faith in the universe, and embracing abundance in all aspects of your life. And it's sort of like brings optimism and confidence. So talk about how we can build more confidence in our lives, more optimism in our life, and how we can use practical actions and positive thinking to manifest our desires into our life. The sun's parallel to Mercury, you can talk about how we can sort of like express ourselves more thoughtfully with others, share our knowledge with others, be more open and clear in communication, and also embrace other people's perspectives, how we can find more mental clarity, become more analytical in our thinking. Also, with the energy of Mercury's contra-parallel to Venus and Pluto's parallel to Venus as well, you can explore the themes of love, relationships, passion and transformation, how we can bring them into our relationships as well, how we can get to the depths of our emotions and embrace our desires, and just giving tips on how we can get outside of our comfort zones, set more ambitious goals and chase our dreams with unwavering optimism, but also balancing that with learning these skills, setting routines, changing our lifestyle slowly, and how important it is to be strategic and build steady change into our lives as well. And just really encourage those who you connect with to believe in themselves and their potential for success in their own right, because what success means to one person isn't necessarily what it means to another. So also talk about how we can confront our hidden desires, embrace profound changes in our romantic life or our personal lives, how we can embrace being vulnerable, how to love ourselves even when our lives are not what we think it should be, how we can let go of our past baggage and allow for new beginnings to grow in the realm of love, especially self-love, giving tips on how we can build more self-love into our life as well, and just talk about how we can bring more healing, growth and build more stronger connections based on authenticity and passion. Okay, so now I'm just going to talk about the aspects, the smaller ones that happen each day this week. So on the 1st of December, we've got the moon leaving Via Combusta. There's also a new moon as well at 6:22 a.m. Mercury makes a parallel to Pluto at 7:39 a.m. and I talked about this earlier. And Venus makes a BiQuintile to Jupiter. So Jupiter is in Taurus and Venus is in Sagittarius. This energy is just going to last us for about a day or two. So check out the separate audio that I've done on the new moon, looking at it from all angles. But really, the new moon is an opportunity for setting intentions related to our personal transformation, intimacy and healing. We can find ourselves drawn to exploring hidden aspects of our psyche and revealing insights that can lead to profound personal growth, because it's a new moon in Scorpio. So Venus's BiQuintile to Jupiter allows us to be creative and have that sense of abundance this week. We've got a lot of Jupiter energy this week. This is a sort of inward energy, but because we've got a lot of outward energy expanding us, so this adds to it. So again, it can just make us feel optimistic about our relationships, personal values, and it supports us in expressing our affection to ourselves and others, and just having appreciation in our lives for what we have. We can feel inspired to engage in artistic activities and hobbies and expand our social circle, and this can lead to enriching experiences, and it just adds to us feeling optimistic this week and being able to have meaningful experiences and conversations and even transformative opportunities. Okay, so on the 2nd of December, the moon enters void of course at 1:29 a.m. Mercury makes a trine to Chiron at 6:17 a.m. and Mercury is in Scorpio and Chiron is in Pisces, so double war energy there in that trine. Venus enters Capricorn, the moon enters Sagittarius. Venus also makes a trine to Uranus when Venus is in Capricorn and Uranus is in Taurus, so double sort of like Earth energy there. And the Sun's contra-parallel to Jupiter, which I talked about earlier, which is flavouring our whole week, and in fact, you know, the next 6 weeks really. It's exact tonight at 9:24. You know, when you have those mind freezes, that's just what's happened to me. So yeah, Mercury's trying to Chiron allows us to dig deep into our past wounds and share our experiences with others that may have been difficult about our past, and this can lead to emotional breakthroughs. It's a good time for therapy or any form of dialogue conversation that facilitates, you know, supports healing, as the insights gained right now can help us navigate any lingering kind of pains or suffering or instability with newfound clarity. So talking to others, talking to yourself, writing things down, reading a book, listening to a podcast, seeking out help from a therapist, as I said, or advice line like the Samaritans in the UK can be really good. We can all find, the coming season really hard, especially if you are single or you've been through heartbreak or anything, you've lost someone at this time. Not to trigger anyone, so just make sure you look after yourself. Don't beat yourself up, be as gentle as you can with yourself. Venus enters Capricorn as well, so I've talked about this in a separate audio, so check that out if you want to check it out. So yeah, Venus in Capricorn brings more practicality and stability into our relationships. It allows us to reassess our values and commitments and build deeper connections with ourselves that are rooted in realism. A lot of the times in romantic relationships we can just sort of like ignore the red flags and just focus on the butterflies and the fields, and the fields are good, but this energy just allows us to be more practical. But it can make us cold on the negative end, but also it can make us focus on the realism. Do you want to take this relationship into the next year? Not to be cold, but some of you may not. Do you want to continue being alone, or do you want to maybe start a relationship with someone who may have been paying you attention? Just really weighing up the pros and cons of your life. The moon in Sagittarius allows us to be more adventurous, more optimistic. So Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, 9th house energy, so it's really good. It supports us in expanding our mind and getting outside of our comfort zone, which is really good. A lot of energy allowing us to do that this week. And Venus is trine to Uranus, allows us to be unpredictable and get more excitement in our love and finances, which is good, but we just need to watch out for overdoing it. As I said, overspending it. It wants us to be more spontaneous and be more innovative with our ideas, and it supports us taking a fresh look and having fresh perspectives and being open to different opinions. And it just really encourages us today to find a balance between thinking, self-reflection and action, and allowing us to ground our emotional insights into tangible relationships and creative plans. Okay, so on the 3rd of December, Venus leaves out of bounds. The Sun's parallel to Mercury, what I talked about earlier this week, is exact at 6:29 today. The Moon enters void of course at 9:17 p.m. So Venus out of bounds can sort of like make how we think about love, beauty and our personal values kind of wild, because it's out of bounds. So out of bounds means it's beyond its normal range of 23.5%. So Venus is normally within that range. So when it comes out of that range, it can behave erratic. So it can sort of like make us more unusual in our thinking, our values, our creativity, and it can sort of feel liberating right now, but chaotic as well, because it's beyond our typical limits, this energy. But now, because Venus is coming back inbounds, we're more grounded, so it allows us to sort of like be more sort of like concrete in our actions and commitments, and we can find ourselves more focused on nurturing, establishing relationships, while also being selective about new connections that align with our evolving sense of self-worth. So Venus is parallel to Pluto and Mercury's parallel to Pluto as well, and then we've kind of got those energies really wanting us to transform our thoughts and our relationships and our thought patterns this week as well. So this energy supports us in taking a more practical approach to our intimacy, affection, sharing, and it creates a balance between independence and partnership. It's a great energy to use to kind of make our plans more solid and express our feelings that we may have not said, saying those words that we, sorry, or I love you, that we may have avoided saying, or, you could say some other words that, like it's over maybe for some of you. Again, not to put a downer on things, but I have to sort of like give all sides of the coin, so yeah, we can just sort of like help us understand what we truly desire in our romantic life, and we can use this energy to develop healthy boundaries and reinforce structures of our existing relationships while allowing space for growth and authenticity within them, or starting new connections. So on the 4th of December, Mercury is at contra-parallel to Jupiter at 1:29 a.m. Venus makes a parallel to Pluto at 2:38 a.m. Mercury makes an opposition to Jupiter at 10:16 a.m. The Sun makes a square to Saturn at 4:19 p.m. The Moon enters Capricorn, and Venus makes a sextile to Neptune at 6:52 p.m. So Mercury's opposition to Jupiter adds to the tug of war between, being optimistic and being practical in our communications this week. It allows us and supports us to be creative and optimistic and all of that, but again, it warns us not to overextend ourselves or become too overly idealistic and get lost in grand visions without the proper research and planning. And, if you want to say become a doctor, if you listen to me, I use this example a lot. It takes about 12 years to study, so just getting realistic about how long it takes to see your goals through, and allowing yourself to ground your thoughts in reality while also allowing yourself to be optimistic, because you can change if you really want to. Never think that you can't, but don't underestimate the things you will have to do to align with your goals and to, do the things you really want to do in this life. It allows us to articulate our goals clearly to ourselves without overlooking important details, which is good. The Sun square to Saturn can bring sort of like tension and limitation to our week, but it challenges us to confront our responsibilities and boundaries and limitations as well. It wants us and supports us in reassessing our goals, which is needed. So yeah, ultimately the Sun square to Saturn just reminds us that, if we want to reach our goals, we have to, put in the hard work, become more disciplined and set a routine and be realistic as well. And the Moon in Capricorn allows us to bring practicality, structure in our life, and Saturn rules Capricorn. So this energy lasts for about 2.5-3 days, so it's a great energy and supports us in planning and strategizing as well. And Venus's sextile to Neptune allows us to be more romantic with ourselves and others, be more creative, be more imaginative as well. It's an opportunity to merge our dreams with reality, nurturing our connections with ourselves and others with more understanding and empathy. And it's good to embrace the balance between allowing our goals to reflect our ideals, our dreams, our uniqueness, but also to ground them in reality as well. So yeah, on the 5th of December there's a crescent moon at 1:27 a.m. Mercury makes a semi-square to Pluto at 11:02 a.m. when Mercury is in Scorpio and Pluto's in Capricorn. Mercury's contra-parallel to Mars is exact today at 1:34, and Venus makes a semi-square to Saturn at 1:40 as well. So the crescent moon allows us and supports us to set intentions this week, and a lot of aspects does as well this week. So this really, allows us to think about our emotional foundations, our emotional feelings. Are we stable within? Do we have unresolved psychological, emotional and spiritual trauma that we need to, repair? And, just really think about the paths we want to build right now. Also, again, supports us in, finding those hidden truths, revealing deeper motivations behind our thoughts, relationships and anything else we think about or experience right now. Again, It warns us to be careful on how we approach things this week to avoid misunderstandings, and supports us in, having honest conversations and navigating intense feelings that can come up, and it can just help us once again, get outside of our comfort zone and to transform the things that we work on changing right now. Mercury's contra-parallel to Mars takes us right into next week as well, so affects us right up into the 13th, 14th of next week as well. So this again supports us in being assertive, having dynamic discussions, and taking action. But negatively, again, it adds to the conflict and impulsiveness of this week, which can get in the way of core for and being sort of like discerning in what we do this week. So just watch out for that. The best use of this energy is to be energetic and productive in whatever we do. So whether it be brainstorming, innovative ideas, engaging in debates where clarity and assertiveness are needed, practicing mindfulness can help us reduce misunderstandings and allow us to harness this transit's intensity constructively. Finally, Venus's semi-square to Saturn again allows us to evaluate our commitments and emotional boundaries, but it can also bring feelings of us being restricted or dissatisfied in our relationships, pushing us to confront any fears about our love and attachment, or leaving a relationship or starting a relationship, as I said earlier. Although this energy can be uncomfortable, and a lot of energy this week is uncomfortable actually, but it gives us the opportunity to establish healthier dynamics and reinforce our sense of self-worth as well, and allows us to embrace this time for self-reflection, and it can lead to valuable insights about what we truly value in our connections, and it can guide us towards more happy and fulfilling relationships. So on the 6th of December, the Sun makes a conjunction to Mercury. Mercury makes a semi-square to Venus, the Moon enters void of course, the Sun's parallel to Venus, which I talked about earlier, is exact at 7:16 p.m. Mars enters retrograde, the Moon enters Aquarius as well, and the Sun makes a semi-square to Pluto. So the Sun's conjunction to Mercury allows us to have clearer communication and thinking as well, and supports us in communication, writing, learning, networking and all of that, and using our intellectual energy in any way. Mercury's semi-square to Venus again adds to the misunderstandings in our relationships, especially in our communication. So again, sometimes a good blowout is what's needed. We have to speak our mind, but try and be respectful with it as well, and just watch out how you communicate your affections and your words, because this can just add to the tension and conflicts that can come from different values and desires right now. And the Sun's parallel to Venus also supports us in increasing our social interactions and bringing warmth and charm to our relationships. But Mars going into retrograde, can push us to, overstep people's boundaries as well. Drop the charm, we're charming 1 minute and the next minute we're just cheeky and rebels and lacking grace and everything. But this energy ultimately, although I've done a very in-depth audio on it, so check that out, wants us to reassess our actions and motivations, particularly in the areas related to our ambition and desires. So ultimately wants us to self-reflect when Mars is in retrograde and reevaluate our goals. But just check out my separate audio if you want an in-depth guide on how to navigate this energy. When the Moon enters Aquarius, it allows us and supports us in being innovative in our thinking and seeking freedom, but it can add to us being emotionally detached and feeling restricted and being aloof and not being open to ourselves and others, which can cause tension within ourselves or within our relationships. The Sun's semi-square to Pluto again allows us to really go beyond the surface, especially into our inner psychology, our repressions, as I said, and confront unresolved issues, especially those related to power dynamics and controlling our life. And, you know, once again supports us in transforming what we need to change in our life right now as well. So yeah, on the 7th of December, Mercury makes a square to Saturn, Venus makes a conjunction to Pluto, the Sun makes an opposition to Jupiter, and Neptune goes direct from out of retrograde as well. So I've done a separate audio on that if you want to check it out. So yeah, Mercury square to Saturn sort of like brings a challenge between our communication and decision making right now. We can find ourselves feeling mentally restricted or facing obstacles in getting our ideas across effectively. It's important to remain patient and not rush our thoughts and feelings. Instead, focus on clarifying our intentions and addressing any doubts that come up. This energy serves as a reminder to establish healthy boundaries and take responsibility for our commitments and for our lives, and, you know, to be open to newness, even though you may have gone through a lot of struggles in the last year or in your life, to just, you know, sort of like be patient with yourself and be gentle. And no matter what, I believe, no matter what, and I know some of us do some really horrible things as human beings, but as I live my life, I really realised that life can be hard, you know, and this is not to diminish, but life is really hard right now. Most of us are struggling, you know, we struggle, even me, optimist, we can struggle with our mental health, especially around this season, spiritual health, heartbreak, setbacks, you know. So I just really want to push as we go into this last month of this year, self-love, self-forgiveness, self-understanding, and, you know, self-care, genuine self-care that really nourishes you, you know, no matter how much you may feel undeserving or people may say. I believe that a lot of the world's problems come from a lack of self-love, you know. So yeah, it's you know, as I said, there's a reminder to establish healthy boundaries and take responsibility for our commitment and our commitment to ourselves, and to build a solid bond of love and security with your own thought patterns. And Saturn here can just help us be disciplined as we take accountability for our life. Venus's conjunction to Pluto again supports us with, you know, healing deeply our emotional bonds or rifts or arguments in our relationships within ourselves as well. But again, you know, can bring hidden power dynamics or any hidden dynamics in our relationships within ourselves to the surface as well. It wants us to embrace being vulnerable, and to be vulnerable we have to get real about our needs and be more authentic. And it just wants us to heal deeply, really deeply, you know, taking that time, and it supports us. And the Sun's opposition to Jupiter brings a clash between our personal ideas and external expectations, and this can lead to overextensions or overconfidence, as I said earlier. So we just need to watch what we promise and just be gentle. Don't push yourself too hard, but don't push yourself too less as well. Just try and take one step at a time. And as Neptune goes direct, the insights from our dreams and all the things that we gathered when Neptune was retrograde can come to the forefront of our mind, guiding us towards a spiritual awakening and allowing us to align our actions with our higher self. So, you know, the emphasis of today's energy is finding the balance between self-reflection and meaningful interactions, and just genuine self-care, love, you know, facing those secrets with peace and grace and self-forgiveness and understanding and higher thinking. So this week it's about a commitment to ourselves, overcoming conflict, being vulnerable, you know, using that Chiron energy I mentioned earlier this week to really just go deep within, allowing ourselves to feel nurture and nurturing others in the right ways. So yeah, I'm Amani, your holistic astrological karmic life coach. Thanks for listening. Take care, and I shall see you next time. And that's the end of the weekly scopes from the 1st to the 7th of December.